Through the blood of the first Adam, we are made human, made to enjoy the fruits of God's creation and have dominion over the earth. With dominion came the power over one's soul, the power to dictate choice. And this choice, as it was since the beginning, is either to act with the will of God or the will of the flesh, the choice of good or evil. Evil being the tyranny of the flesh and sin, while goodness is of a righteous spirit and purity. But the latter may not be achieved without the knowledge of the former. And so it was that Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So was man separated from God, and so began the course of human events, with pride the root of all sin, and humility the root of all virtue. The seeds of mustard and the sheep were scattered. Yet that creation made in the image of God was not abandoned, but sowed for the day of harvest. For through the blood of the first Adam we are made human. From the blood of the last Adam we are made holy. And through the word of God we are whole. So it is, as the sins of man separated us from God, it is through the word and blood of God that we are reunited with the Father. The word of God is the truth, and it is the light. But with the light that shines from the Father comes the darkness that seeks to separate us from Him. And out of that darkness and out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. And in this state of opposing light and darkness, those with faith that is as a mustard seed and the lost sheep both have their calling. But it is only up to them to see the light, to accept the light, and bear their cross. For many are called, but few are chosen. Bestowed with the heart of a mortal and the spirit capable of righteousness, man is gifted with the free will to either embrace the light or the darkness. This is the spiritual warfare of humanity, where the battlefield is the heart and mind, and the prize is the soul. So through the histories of humanity, as great epics and tragedies are recorded, there appear patterns to be recognized. Such are the patterns of great individuals forging from their generation a prosperity. And from that great generation comes children who, forsaking their role of maintaining prosperity, squander the very traditions and practices that provided them with their current prosperity. Through this comes the cycle of good and bad times. But do not let the seemingly circular nature of this pattern fool you. For this pattern is not an inevitable cycle, but rather the linear history of humanity. For as existed in the beginning, exists now the choice of vice or righteousness, light or darkness, independence or communion with God. That is human nature, to either live through the will of God or through the will of the flesh and desire. And to the linear history of man, I give you the words of St. Augustine of Hippo. Bad times, hard times, this is what people keep saying. But let us live well, and times shall be good. We are the times. Such as we are, such are the times. The pattern of prosperity and ruin is merely the reflection of the cumulative consequences of a generation. Yet whether a generation is righteous or wicked, it is righteousness that persists. For even a faithless and wicked generation may abandon the shackles of the wills of the flesh and live for the will of God. For even when one falls or even lives in denial, the righteous soul, if repentant and embraces and returns to the light, shall be blessed. But as they did to the Son of God, they shall do to us. For even the perfect heart, not plagued with the rebellion of sin from within, is besieged and persecuted by those conquered by sin. And a person may be flogged, flayed, dismembered, and crucified, yet Christ is stronger than all the devil's siege engines, and even death itself. and the soul that thirsts for righteousness shall be satisfied. For out of the heart comes eternal rebellion, and it is the spirit that must be forever tended to, so that either from within or without, the spirit may never succumb to the will of the accuser. From generation to generation, it must always be remembered that the path to righteousness is to chastise the heart, to be pure in sight and mouth, for the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So, human nature is not merely the default, flawed nature of humans, but rather, it is the result of the spiritual warfare of good and evil. The works of a wicked and faithless generation is not the end of prosperous times, but rather the reminder of the darkness that preys on God's children. The patterned rise and fall of mankind's prosperity is merely the result of generations in communion or separation with God. And it is independence and separation from God where mankind fails. For out of hubris and ignorance, some generations believe they may stand forever in the darkness. But what is of this earth is subject to decay. Such is the same for human nature. But the kingdom of heaven is beyond that of human nature and is eternal. Decay is corruption, and the institutions we uphold on earth are as any other fleeting material. Institutions are subject to decay and corruption, to then collapse, because they lack that quality that is eternal, and that is the word and commandments of God. No king other than Christ, and no God other than the Father. It is by living by the will of God, human excellence is achieved, and prosperity is earned. It is through Christ and the Father that it may be on earth as it is in heaven.